Hey, this is Cody Piper, and today we are talking about ADHD and how it has come to affect our children and our future students in the coming generations. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder, and it is detailed by the idea of having trouble paying attention and fidgeting and stuff like that in class. So to start it off, how common is the idea of ADHD? How much has it progressed in past years? Now, there's kind of a little bit of a range there to determine, how exactly common is this affliction on the children, students of this generation. Some studies say that it's around 5%. That was by the APA, the American Psychiatric Association, whereas the CDC, which is the Center for Disease, claims that this is actually 11% of children have ADHD. So there is a bit of a range within there that's dictating, how common in the population is this disease, and it really comes down to the idea of the difficulty in diagnosis in this disease as well. There's said to be 6.4 million children that have been diagnosed with ADHD to this day. And the average age of these children is about 7. So around 7 is when they're diagnosed with ADHD, when they can be diagnosed. And there has been a major increase of the level of diagnosis and how many people have been diagnosed by up to 42% since 2010, and that's that 8-year range. An increase of 42% just goes to show how far this has really grown within the past few years. So as I just said, that 8% or that 42% in the last 8 years is quite a large increase, and the idea of where this comes from is something that's a question that a lot of people have. So in 2003, there was 4.4 million cases of diagnosis. In 2011, as I said in the previous slide, there's now 6.4 million cases. So you can see that increase just from 2003 to 2011, and then another 42% increase to 2018. So it's really just a rising factor, and there's a whole bunch of people giving different reasons or rhymes to why this rise has been happening. Is it environmental factors? Is it somehow genetics? Or is it possibly the idea of just an overdiagnosis? And as I had said before, this is a very fickle disorder to diagnose, because we are basing it on the idea of are they fidgeting? Are they having trouble paying attention? And really, ADHD comes into place when these actions, these problems, are starting to affect their everyday lives, such as their homework, their work ethics, their productivity, and all those ideologies. And that's when they decide to diagnose ADHD, when it comes to the point where we're hitting a spectrum or an intensity level that it is actually affecting their daily lives. So there's been a whole bunch of, you can just type in reasons for ADHD and you'll see a whole bunch of mom blogs and, all kinds of stuff. But the more scientific viewpoints that I've seen definitely point more towards genetics and the idea that the genetic code of the kids is what's causing these increase and ideas of ADHD. Or at least there's been a lot more studies that I've seen suggesting a much more increase due to genetics. You can see people saying it's sugar, which I've seen people proving that wrong. The idea that TV may cause it, but again, I saw another study that was pointing to the idea that TV was not an indicator. While it does, cause some distraction issues, it doesn't seem to point to the idea of ADHD. Some people point to diet, but as I said, most of the scientific studies I've seen point more towards the idea of genetics or the idea of overdiagnosis in the past few years. And the idea that it's a very hard thing to judge, and we're kind of pulling the trigger a bit too quick on the idea of everything being ADHD. You fidget with the pencil, you click it on the table, you can't think well or get distracted easy. We like to point out too that it's ADHD as a quick, serve. So what exactly are the behaviors and characteristics of ADHD? Well, from what I've seen and, on a personal level, the idea of ADHD is a very, as it says, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's someone that is very easily distracted. So they'll almost be like a kind of a dreamer. They'll go from one thing to the next very quickly. They can't stay on task very easily. They fidget, they squirm, they have to pace. Have a lot of trouble sitting still, which goes back to the idea that they squirm in their seat. They constantly move in positions, maybe tapping pencils on the desk. They constantly intruding on others' conversations. So someone will be talking and they have to get their input in, or they have to push into another conversation to try to get inside of it. They have trouble staying quiet, and all these things, to a certain intensity level can cause a lot of problems in their schoolwork or a lot of problems in their work life or productivity even. And the idea of medicating that and trying to solve these simple little tics and turns that may cause them to have trouble in their daily school or work lives. So being easily distracted could cause you to have trouble with assignments or trouble getting tests completed because your mind is in a different place while you should be taking a test. Careless mistakes, you think over something too quick. You can't keep your head on what the math problem is about. Instead of subtracting, you add it, or instead of dividing, you multiply it. And one little problem that was done because of a distraction or because your mind couldn't sit still, you've missed the entire problem. And it's not because you're not intelligent, but instead because you had trouble keeping your mind on the task. And that's the idea of why ADHD can cause these problems and how we can learn to get past and fix these problems. So that's some behaviors and characteristics of what you might see in a classroom with someone who has ADHD. So the question now is everyone's ADHD the same? And it's a very easy answer that no. You can't put can't put ADHD, the idea of it, in one placeholder and say, oh, everyone fits in a single category. The people who have trouble, staying on task are the exact same as the people that squirm, or the people that can't, have to intrude in others' conversation, are the same that make careless mistakes. When the real ideal of it is that there is a mixture of, things that ADHD gives problems to. And the three main issues are hyperactivity, impulsivity, and inattention. The ability not to, keep your attention, the one where you have to squirm, you have to move, or the idea of having impulses to do things. You want to go from one task to the next. You can't keep your mindset. And when we think of ADHD, in the levels, like a spectrum it's on, you can see that there's a whole idea of a mixture of these two or these three. You go from mild to severe sets of fidgeting. You can be fidgeting, or you have to have someone who has to literally get out of their seats and pace. I know I've had problems with pacing in my past, and it is certainly a distraction. And that's the thing. We can't take ADHD and put it all into one little bag and say, oh, everyone with ADHD is exactly like this. And the idea of the diagnosis is very difficult because of this, because you have to look at the severities of how far their quirks and problems are really going. Are they just maybe tapping a pencil on the table, or are they having to get out of their seats and walk around completely intruding anything that they're doing? So the idea actually does not have a separate category for ADHD, and instead it's branched off of other health impairments, and it's quoted as heightened alertness to stimuli that results in limited alertness with respect to the education environment. So with IDEO, currently we don't have its own field or category for the idea of this impairment, but instead it falls into one called other health impairments. which kind of degrades from I'd say the severity of ADHD, especially with how growing rise it is. Whether that rise is some environmental factor or simply overdiagnosis, we can see that there has been a rise in ADHD. So what can we do to help ADHD in the classroom? So that's, I guess, where this main assessment rises. How, as educational providers, can we lead to a way to help with ADHD in the environment? So a few things I found to help, from various websites, was provide reasons for movement. Provide them a reason to get up and move around, to get rid of that excessive energy that they've been pelting up. Perhaps everyone has to get their seats to walk around the classroom, or you give them a reason to pace so that they're not needing to pace when time comes. Another thing is to give a routine. Give them a set pathway to follow so that their mind doesn't jump from one assignment. Because if you say, here's 3 homework assignments that you have to get done, their mind jumps from one to the next without keeping set on one idea. If you can say, or write on the board the homework assignment pathway, say, you do this assignment first, you could talk to friends for a little bit in between, and you do this assignment next. You give them a pathway to follow so that they get the idea that they have to finish this assignment first before they finish the next. And that really pushes for the idea that their mind isn't skipping around or jumping around trying to figure out where they want to go next on their assignments. Focus on positive relationships. This is really a must for any kind of mental disorder or any kind of student-teacher relationship. You focus on a positive relationship and not on the negatives of the relationship. So people with ADHD can have anxiety problems as well, and you want to be very careful when focusing on positive relationships because you can cause problems with peer relations as well. So focusing on positive relationships, like I said, is something that you just kind of you need for any student-teacher relationship, not just specific ones. And encourage hands-on learning. This is, of course, the idea of creating projects that will allow them to touch and feel or create their own ideologies behind the set. It allows them to express that energy and have their mind stay in tuned and excited about what they're doing. And let children play is just, of course, the idea of let their energy out. Let them have their recess. Don't be trying to have children skip their recess, as a form of punishment, because this just leads to built up energy and a more wondering mind as to when they actually have to get back to work or classroom work. So while you could find other ways to have consequences, I'd say try to stay away from the idea of taking away recess and taking away that time they do have to play and use that excessive energy that they have. And finally, just reduce potential distractions. So keep them away from maybe people that will talk a lot, or keep them near the instructor so that you can keep a good eye on them or help them when they need it more, because people with attention or ADHD have a tendency to drift, and if you can be there to kind of get them through that intensity level that they are on, it certainly will help in the end. So that is the idea of ADHD, or the basics. It's a very, very large field that has a very large spectrum of diagnosis. And to find these 3 categories: impulsivity, hyperactivity, and attention, it really is something that certainly could use more study, and hopefully we can get through this very ideology as we set forward.